Hey, what's up everybody? We're going to be watching this video about Monster Hunter Wilds and its beta. I actually requested access for the beta, but I did it on the last day. I went to sleep while it downloaded, was going to play it the next day after work, and the shit freaking was over. I was so mad, bro. I was actually so mad we missed it because I was going to, make a video on it.
Everyone, it's officially time. Monster Hunter Wilds is here. I have it. Not the whole thing. It's an open beta. They basically are doing this thing where they're letting people try it to test server infrastructure, test all sorts of stuff. But if you are a PlayStation Plus subscriber, you can try it right now. And if you're on Steam or Xbox, you'll be able to, but it's just going to take another few days. But in this video, I wanted to give you an idea of what the game actually has to offer. I've been playing it for the last few hours with my buddy Corey. Shout out to Corey, who got me into Monster Hunter originally with Monster Hunter World to start with. And so I have some thoughts after doing a handful of monster hunts and seeing what this very, very slim sliver of the game has to offer. But to give you a quick synopsis, I really enjoyed my time so far with Monster Hunter Wilds. I've been pleasantly surprised at how familiar it feels while still offering some fresh ideas. It does not feel like a reinvention. It does not feel like anything totally crazy or wild. It's more Monster Hunter in the best way possible. And while I have a couple of concerns here and there that I'll point out here in just a minute, overall, I am even more confident that this is another Capcom slam dunk, which is perhaps sorely needed in the industry. So we always need more Capcom slam dunks, don't we? So yeah, we're going to talk all about it. But first, I want to say thank you to our sponsor for this video, HelloFresh. HelloFresh is the meal delivery service that delivers breakfast for life. Okay, thank you, Luke from the past. Let's get back into it. I want to describe my feelings in the opening hour or so, because I started this up. I made like a basic character in the character creator, and then I just was like, start, let's go. And yeah, I'll explain. But I had a little heart attack about 27 minutes or so into this. I was actually a little scared when I first booted it up, because when you first boot it up, you see this screen, and then you go through a handful of little cutscenes. And then this happened where I finished a mission. I was like, okay, what's happening? Fade to black. And then I got this splash screen. This was like all of 27 minutes into my playtime. And I was like, no way, this is only a 27-minute beta where we fought one tutorial monster. Like, I can't complain. It was free, but that's so disappointing. But no. It's not like that at all. As you can see, there's another like 2 hours after this. Like, there's a lot more. They just... like, that's where the story progression ends, and then it's just going to open up and let you freely do whatever you want. But yeah, I had a little heart attack when I saw this. I was like, no, it's only 27 minutes. Come on. But there's plenty more. There's plenty more. So don't have a heart attack when you see this. Now, the first thing you're probably going to notice is just how different the map layouts are. Yeah, this is what's particularly striking, and I'm still not totally sure where I land on it. They have totally revamped a ton of things. For one, the map is way better. It's actually usable. It's a full 3D map, so you can actually like trace how the maps are laid out.
Yeah,
if you didn't play Monster Hunter Rise or World, like, this probably doesn't look that impressive. But if you played those games, you know how bad those maps were. They were basically unusable, just like pieces of paper basically stacked on top of each other.
Like a real
map. Now you can actually get in and see individual granularity. My only note on this that I hope they balance as we get closer is it's super sensitive. So if you touch it even just a tad, it zooms out a ton or very quickly. And if you do a hard press where it triggers
that's just
the adaptive trigger thing, it zooms all the way out completely. At least from my experience, you'll have many times where you accidentally zoom all the way in if you're trying to quickly check a map. So that's something I hope that they tweak and adjust, because it's just a little too sensitive for my liking. But other than that, this is just like wonderful. This is so much better than it used to be. I can't even begin to tell you. I also wanted to show you some more stuff in camp, but a lot of this stuff is not actually available. You try to talk to people and they have
just
like
ignore
a
you.
line.
They literally actually ignore you. That's
and
crazy.
There's nothing else beyond that. So I'm sorry if you were hoping for blacksmith footage. I do not have it. And then there's also this cat over here named Tom, who I was really looking forward to working with, but he also says he needs more time.
He says, so fuck off, go away.
This beta is definitely just about getting you in, doing a couple of cutscenes, letting you do character customizer and all of that, and then kind of setting you free to just go and do some random hunts with a few monsters. But other than that, they're not going to do a whole lot. They also have seamless character transitions between like the character creator and then into
the graphics look so much better.
Like, what is this? This is Monster Hunter,
which
like,
isn't all that matters, but it's just
when
the
have they
gameplay
ever
was really
done
good
anything
and the
that
graphics were
smooth
like,
and silky? I mean,
including
come
for like
on.
the one that came after Monster Hunter.
They then take you and have you do like the tutorial boss fight where it's just introducing you to the basic mechanics
like
of the
Monster
game.
Hunter Rise
They
or whatever,
introduce
looks
here like the
booty.
first big change, which is that they have a new focus
Dude,
mode
this boss looks
designed
so
around
juicy.
targeting weak points that are
Yeah,
generated
like, look at all that saliva.
dynamically in combat. So as you're fighting a monster, you might wound it on the elbow, and then that will create a weakness that you can then target and
they made it more obvious.
effectively. It's a cool idea for a system. Sometimes it works better than others. Some monsters, they'll get a weak point like in the small of their back where you can't really get to them if you're using a lot of different weapon types, at least not easily. So there's been some frustration, but I'm sure that also is just a matter of growing pains. There you can see the glowing red spot, while in focus mode that opens the wound so that you can target it and deal increased damage there. Speaking of multiple weapons, they do now support using multiple weapons. You can actually have 2 on your person just based on your playstyle. So if you want to play with a great sword and then a hammer, you can do that. If you want to play with dual blades and great swords, you
See, I wonder how that's gonna work, because like I would like that if it was like you had a ranged weapon, like you had a bow or something, or crossbow or gun, like, you know, whatever, and then the dual swords or great sword. But it's just like New World did this too. I didn't like it a lot. What's another game that did it that I recently played? It wasn't New World. I don't know. It was another game, and they had like the 2 weapon like system, and it was just like it feels like bad when you're using it. I don't know. Like, it just doesn't feel as good as if I could just focus. Oh, it was that new MMO. Oh my god.
You can do that. Like, they really empower you to choose what you want to do and how you want to play. Most players, I think, are going to have a ranged option and then maybe a close range option, which I think is a decent way to do it. But it does often feel like you just end up playing the same way you would normally play Monster Hunter, and that might just be because I play Monster Hunter the way I learned how to play Monster Hunter with Monster Hunter World. So I get my big weapon and I swing for the fences, and that's just what I do. And so having the option for multiple weapons is something I'm not used to, and I'm sure it's going to take me more than just a few hours in the beta to get a feel for how dynamic that could be. Plus, the monsters we were fighting are like the tutorial monsters. Like, some of them are
Throne
tricky.
in Liberty. That's what it was. Throne in Liberty. Sorry, guys. I could literally not remember it for the life of me.
And chaotic
yeah,
and frantic, but none of them are so
I like the games.
So challenging that like you really need to use everything at your disposal. Like, for the most part, they're pretty straightforward. The one exception being this dude. He is pure chaos. Me and Corey went at him, and I mean, it was a lot. You can see he does a lot of damage. It was tough.
So we'll see how they do that.
Yeah, we had a really good time,
sick,
and it's good to be back. Now, for those wondering whether or not this is like a total reinvention or this is a massive step up, like, oh man, look at that. I almost got one shot with that. If you're wondering if this is going to be like a huge evolution or something, it's frankly not, as far as I can tell. This is a refinement. This is an iteration. It's not a revolution, okay? And I think that's okay, because I didn't think the Monster Hunter formula was broken or anything. They've done some things like
they've just
they want to
added
have this
on to
sort of
it.
seamless transition between the camp, and then when you go out on quests and hunts, they want to have a seamless transition between
all they did was make it better
different
from what
areas
I've
that you
seen.
go into, different environments that
But
look
like I said, I
totally
don't know about
distinct and
that
different. And they do a
two-weapon
good
system.
job of pulling that off from what I've seen. Only one map so far, but from what I've seen, they've done a really good job of that. But it doesn't feel that much different from Monster Hunter World. There's a couple of little bitty tweaks and changes, like the focus mode. Some weapon types, you're probably going to be using focus mode for extended periods of time, and that's just going to be how you do stuff. Other times,
like, which
you're going
weapons?
to be not really relying it that much. Like, as you can see here with my my longsword, I didn't really feel the need to use the focus mode that much because of the sweeping nature of the attack. It didn't really pinpoint areas that much, so I didn't feel the need to use it a ton. But you can see just how dynamic these areas are. You're meant to move from place to
the
place.
weather effects are sick.
It's reminiscent of Monster Hunter World, but it still feels distinct at the same time. They of course also have these environmental things where they want there to be storms that come in and go out seamlessly as you play. The environment should change. Certain animals and monsters should only come out during certain types of weather or certain times of day, basically. And so they just want it to feel more realistic in that sense. Now, having said that, when it does decide to transition out of the storm, you'll see how quickly it does it just into regular daylight. Here it's storming, and then there's going to be a point up here where it stops and it will go back to just regular daytime, and it's super sudden and abrupt.
Yeah.
And then it's just back to normal.
That's
in this case,
crazy.
we went back to fighting within a pit, which was a whole other thing. But it happens very, very quickly. Maybe a slower transition could be nice if they could tweak that. But I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's just a little like, oh, it's daytime now. Yeah,
I'm thinking of the giant worm
Storm's
from
gone,
Star Wars.
Whatever. So we've established it doesn't feel like that big of a revolution or anything crazy from what we've seen before. I think that's totally fine because I was perfectly fine with how the formula was working beforehand. But setting that aside, how does the game actually run? How does it actually function moment-to-moment gameplay? Well, I'm of course playing this on PS5. That's the only place where it's available right now. As you can see, there's a lot of artifacting that's going to happen at any given time where you can see all sorts of bizarre, I think these are transparency artifacts or like, I don't think they're upscaling artifacts. I had somebody explain to me what these are, but basically it's that checkerboard pattern you can see in some games, especially from Capcom, where they might be struggling to hit a specific resolution. So they render at a quarter resolution, then kind of guess on the rest. And pretty much no matter where you look, even though this is a 4K super high bitrate capture, you can see that pretty much all detail in the grass is gone, even as the text remains sharp.
Why?
Everything behind it is super blurred. This is not going to be like the sharpest game. It's not going to be the most cutting edge 4K 60 whatever. There were plenty of times where it was struggling to run smoothly at all. And I'm sure that's only going to improve as we get closer to launch, but it's definitely something you notice when you're playing. When I first booted it up, I was like, "Oh, is there performance modes or something I can do? Is there something?" But it's just how the game runs. Is it that big of a deal? No. Like I said, we played for 3 hours. After the first 5, I tuned it all out and I was engaged by the game. It really wasn't that big of a deal to me, at least. But if you're somebody who's super sensitive to that type of thing, I think it's something to be aware of. But to kind of wrap up all my thoughts based on the very limited slice that I've seen and played so far, I think that it's more Monster Hunter, and I find that exciting. I'm all in for that.
As he's just beating his booty.
It does feel currently for me a little bit clunky. There's little bitty things like how to post quests that's just different from how it was in the other games. So it takes you a minute to figure out. And then there's other little bitty things.
I'm going to be honest, playing Monster Hunter on the controller is just clunky in general if you compare it to like playing it on the computer, in my opinion. And then also, he's probably just used, like, Monster Hunter in general is just a clunky game compared to other games. And I think once you get used to that clunk, then you don't really notice it anymore. At least that's from me, like my experience. So maybe he's just like, it's different, but maybe he is right and it's really bad. I don't know.
The menus work. Like, I'm sorry to be that guy, but like the menus are really, really just text heavy and hard to navigate. I'm sure once you play the game a bunch, you'll get a feel for it and it won't be that big of a deal. Like, the menu system is familiar, but once you go into the specific options, it gets really, really text heavy and it's just hard to navigate. And so that feels clunky, especially when you're trying to figure out how the rest of the game works and how things are supposed to work when you're setting it up, trying to figure out how to get the game going. And then beyond that, like, there's new things where like the mounts that you use, they automatically run to the objective that you have set, which initially sounds nice. Like, oh, I can just have the little fella running where I need him to go. Cool. Well, the thing is, like, you have to manually get him to stop running towards the objective. Otherwise, he just keeps running, even getting stuck into walls or things. If I move my my camera, there we go. If I move that, you can see that there is hold down right trigger or R2 to stop the running in that direction and just stand still. I never thought I would care that much about just standing still, but there's so many times where I was trying to pull up a menu or something and this thing would just keep running in that direction or run into a wall or something. Or sometimes it would even be pinned to the wrong objective where I would have an objective pinned over here, a custom.
Okay, but this is just auto running, right? Like in MMOs. Maybe he's just not used to playing MMOs, so maybe that's why it's weird for him. But that just sounds like auto run because they don't turn, they only go straight from what he's saying.
Objective that I wanted, and it would take me to like the separate quest objective that perhaps was totally fair to take me to because it's the quest objective, but it's not the thing I'm actively pursuing in that moment, you know? So yeah, it just doesn't do what you want it to do. And the thing is, like, that clunkiness will go away with time as you get used to the game. But this is part of what happens when you're playing a game that's really familiar because it's an iteration of something you played a lot of. I played a lot of Monster Hunter World. I know like the game muscle memory very, very well. So for this to have even small changes feels like massive changes. You know, it feels like a total departure from what I'm used to, even though it's just little bitty changes I'm going to get used to quickly. But listen, I had a great time. And other than some performance concerns and then some like struggles to maintain decent resolutions at times, I was really pleased with the beta so far, at least. I'm going to continue playing it because it will continue to let me, and I am very interested to see what the rest of the game has to offer. But at its core, it's more Monster Hunter, much closer to World than Rise, certainly, and I am very, very okay with it. If you were hoping this would be like a huge generational leap or something for the franchise, it doesn't really feel that way. It feels like World, but like 1.5 or maybe even 2.0, like a reinvention of it, but it doesn't feel like a huge leap. It's still very, very familiar, and I think that that's, if anything, more of what I was hoping for, because again, I love World so much. I'd rather them not reinvent the wheel, but that's where I'm at right now. But let me know what you think of all this. Are you going to be playing the beta yourself? Besides, or are you going to check it out on PlayStation, or waiting until it comes to Steam or Xbox in just like a few days time? Let me know, and I'll consider whether we should cover this game in more detail. Historically, like Capcom stuff doesn't really jive with the Luke Stevens channel that well. People just kind of have already decided they want to play those games, so they don't really feel the need to go and watch content on it. But if you're interested in seeing more stuff on Monster Hunter Wilds, let me know. But until next time, my friends, much love, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.
Oh yes, we love all the kisses. Yeah, no guys, I'm still pissed that I didn't get to actually play the game. Yeah, I was really excited actually. I'm actually really excited for this game. But it looks good from what he said. It just sounds like your typical like beta issues, you know, we got to fix, you know, a little bit of the UI, we got to fix a little bit of the clunkiness here and there, but it, you know, it looks like it's going to be worth the $70 probably it's going to be in this economy. Tell me what you guys think about this game. If you guys played the beta, tell me how you guys felt when you played it in the comments below. Tell me what you guys wish they changed or added, or what you like, what you miss, if they got rid of anything from Worlds. And make sure to check out this guy's channel, Luke Stevens. You know, subscribe, give the video a like, all that good stuff, because this video was actually really good. I like how he was like very like, I like the personality focused stuff where they're just themselves while talking about it. So it's nice that he was doing that and stuff. And I thought he brought up a lot of good points. I think some of it though was like, oh yeah, you feel this way because you played the original one so much. So like the muscle memory is kind of messing with you, but he might be right. I'm just saying from what he was saying. And then he even caught himself later on in the video saying, yeah, that might be why. But yeah, like and subscribe to me, of course, yours truly. And see you guys in the next one. Peace.